I'll explain it during the show. Give you feedback. The numbers are the same.
AB on the track, yeah. AB on the track, yeah.
I really do. It really
It's this part right here. It just takes me out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It just grinds me. It just bothers me so much. AB on the track, yeah.
I'm for black America, it's just another year. You knew the disrespect by your elected puppeteers, but let me show you how to persevere.
Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, J. Costa.
It's your girl, Katniss.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty. We are here for part 5 of this series we've been having about is it us versus them. And what we're doing is we're challenging, is it the actions of black people to fix some of these societal issues we have, whether it's, social or economic? Is it really the government? Is it the man purposely holding us down? And, as we've been going through this, we've been examining, multiple angles in this conversation. And honestly, there are no wrong or right answers, but we're definitely looking for answers. We got Granny Sue in the house. So, happy to have y'all. Shout it out. Bass drop for them guys over there. Granny Sue, Clarksville, Tennessee, building. But yeah, so we're having this conversation. And today, we're having our 5th part. We're going to be talking about money. Well, we're going to talk about just money in general, who's making it, who don't make it. We're going to talk about where we're spending our money, right? And then hopefully have a dialogue of how we could do better. How do we start growing economic wealth despite challenges that are in front of us, things of that nature, right? So we're going to have the conversation. Definitely have to have that conversation, so it's going to be fun. Before we get there, before we get down to the nitty gritty, we'll go over some current news. You didn't have any current news you was going to add today, did you?
Just that, AKA.
Oh, you drop the knowledge on the people then.
So, current news, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, my sorority. There have been 2 instances of folks who have been wearing paraphernalia and they're not members. One instance was a substitute teacher where the jacket was left on the chair. The teacher was a black woman. She was out. The substitute teacher was not a black woman. She put the AKA jacket on. The kids took a picture of it, sent it to the teacher, and that was a no-no. And the second instance was a little girl at school came to school with a pink and green AKA rhinestone shirt. The teacher then proceeded to take the shirt off of the little girl and sent her home in a different shirt, along with a letter to the parent letting her know that she should not be wearing AKA paraphernalia. And the parent was highly offended that she would essentially assault her child and force her to take a shirt off. So in closing, if you are a member of a Greek organization, it is highly encouraged by your organization to get rid of your paraphernalia in the proper way, either by burning it, cutting it, or donating it to a new member. Do not dispose of it at the Goodwill or the Salvation Army, because it creates opportunity for non-members to wear it, and it becomes a problem.
Yeah, you see people wearing all kind of stuff. And then also, you can't, there's still this thing called assault. So you can't take it off of somebody. Especially there's a way to have the conversation, but it's touchy. If you just deal with it at the root, like Katrina said, get rid of your stuff the right way, and you can forego all of that, right? Unless somebody robs you, and that's different. And then you can send that person to jail when you call the cops, but get rid of your stuff the right way.
Also in current news, I don't know if you guys have heard, Pakistan and Israel are at war again.
Violence and picked up again. They're just typically always at war.
They're always at war, but now it's like, bombs away. So let's keep that part of the world in prayer, because I don't want to hear of innocent lives continuing dying, especially when we know that Israel is a very important place to many people around the world. So so definitely prayers to the region out there. So I'm pretty sure the U.S. will probably end up getting involved financially, if anything else, kind of like Ukraine. I thought we didn't have no money from Ukraine. That's what they told us.
Huh?
The U.S. said they didn't have no more money because they gave a lot of money to Ukraine.
Yeah, we'll see. They create money. I mean, we just print money these days. So, I mean, we'll see. We don't have money for a lot of the social economic stuff, but man, we always got money for war. 54% of our budget goes to DOD, Department of Defense, and all the various things that fall up under that. So they've found money for war, especially if they think it's advantageous. When the lobbyists from Northrop Grumman and the lobbyists from all those groups and Halliburton, BlackRock, they start saying, hey man, some money in this war. We'll see. The money starts appearing out of nowhere, but we'll see. Also, on a more serious note, crime waves are getting ridiculous, period. Like, just across the U.S., especially in the urban community. We've been hit pretty hard here in D.C. Murders are over 200. They're expecting that murders probably might hit 300 again in D.C. That's pretty bad for a city that's been grossly gentrified. but we still have a serious violence issue on our hands. The young people are just shooting crazily. And then shout out, prayers to Morgan State. Shout out to all those that we know that's been to Morgan. They've been hit really hard over the past few weeks. Specifically, they had a young man there, I guess, that was well known, well respected, family guy. I believe he was married, had 2 daughters.
Oh,
he was killed at
he was in college. Okay.
No, he wasn't in college.
Oh.
He was a alumni of Morgan. Okay. But like super respected, probably was that guy when he was on campus, but had a good reputation about him. A lot of people were sad about that. A couple of people I know, I guess must have knew this guy too because they had shouted him out on social media. But yeah, I believe he had 2 young children. I think 2 girls. Shout out to Brent. He was saying that the shootings at HBCUs. Yeah, that stuff is crazy. And then Morgan, once again, referencing Brent's comment, you had Morgan had a shooting where 5 people were wounded. I'm not sure if anybody died, but 5 people were shot. The killer is still at large. And I'm not laughing at that, but me and Katrina had a conversation earlier. She was like, I've never heard of at large, like the killer being at large. What's that? I feel like you made it up. But no, they do say that.
No.
Maybe it's an old thing.
Because when I think of at large, I think of like a member at large. Like I think it's very political. So it's like killer at large.
Yeah, they say that on the news.
Like I'm running for, this position at large. Like
no,
that's not thing.
It is a common term. Like on the news, they'll say, the killer is still at large. The suspect is still at large, meaning they haven't caught him yet.
I don't see how the interpretation from an English standpoint doesn't do it for me up here.
Well, a lot of stuff in English doesn't make sense.
Because at large, what does that have to do with not being caught?
So there you go, Herman telling
I
you.
have never heard that a day in my life, ever.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing.
I've never heard
and they still say it today. But
I've never heard the news say that they always say that the suspect has not been captured. I've never heard at large, ever.
It's a thing. It's a thing. It's a real thing. But yeah, so
he said it's very English. Well, I guess that makes sense then. I'm a very American person.
I'm an American person too, but I mean, I've heard it in America.
I've never heard that.
It's been said a lot.
Never.
I'm just saying. So, but anyways.
Maybe it's because you were early 80s baby.
I don't know. Also, I don't know what it is. But, yeah, so that person has not been caught yet. So that's an issue. But yeah, like the shootings are so bad. In this case with Morgan, they had to postpone their homecoming. Mm-hmm. And homecoming is a huge thing for any black school, right? But for them to have to postpone homecoming, possibly cancel homecoming, you're talking about that's a lot of income and attention that the school gets for various purposes. So, that's a thing. And then obviously you have schools like TSU, shout out to the Tigers. They're having issues where they're actually owed now. They found up to $2 billion they're owed that the state has not given to them that was supposed to come by way of federal funds. And this is not just TSU, Tennessee State University, by the way, but multiple schools where they're finding out that they're being underfunded, and not because the funding wasn't there, but because the governing body of the state didn't properly amend funds to the right places. So, our HBCUs are physically, financially under attack, and then even reputation-wise, this under attack. So keep our HBCUs in prayer. This is why we're going to talk about money somewhat tonight. We won't touch on those specific particular values, but nonetheless they correlate, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, there's a serious crime wave going on right now in America. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it's just the news hyping it up." Like, nah, it's bad. It's bad, and it's not like it's being concentrated in areas where people live the life. Like, as crazy as the '90s were, it's like, and I use DC for example. You didn't really hear about people being affected by crime as much that weren't in the life. A lot of times you would attack somebody who was living a life. And I say living a life, meaning they lived a criminal lifestyle. They were thieves. They was, gangsters in gangs, selling drugs. So they understood the consequence, or maybe they didn't always understood truly the consequence, but they were in the life. But, there used to be a time in the earlier days, I even say it's going back as far as the 70s. I think the elders in the party can also qualify this information. But there used to be a time where if you was a church kid, if you was the neighborhood nerd, people would say, "Hey, leave him alone. He going places. He's a star basketball player. Hey, look, man, you can't be on the street hustling, man. I need you focused on your school." There used to be a time they did that, and now they'll just pull anyone and push anybody into the life. So the values are very different now. But it used to be a time like, people didn't commit crimes on Sunday. Like they just had that kind of respect. You didn't spark up in front of the church. Now, elders be trying to get past. They can have whole oxygen machines, and these kids would spark up. When I say spark up, I'm talking about weed. Just in case y'all don't know, I know I'm Mr. L7, but I know a few things. But yeah, these kids now, they'll smoke whatever. I mean, there is a lack of consideration for our elders these days.
Did you see that man on our church grounds who was smoking that cigarette?
There's a guy smoking a cigarette at the church?
You didn't see that, right? We were literally walking out of church, getting ready to walk to where the car was parked. He was right there by the truck, smoking that cigarette wide open. Sure was.
What? Yeah, but see, once again,
wide open, smoking that cigarette.
Value system is different now. There used to be a time you didn't smoke in front of a church. You'll be walking past the church, you might curse, you be like, ooh, don't say that in front of the church.
He was smoking that cigarette right in front of everybody, blowing all the type of smoke. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. But I mean, that's
sure
the
was.
That's the world we live in. And keep in mind for all the church folks watching, or maybe the unchurched, wherever you stand, we're not saying like, oh, you're just so horrible because you smoke cigarettes. But we are saying that there used to be a time where it was just this common respect, like, okay, that's the church, that's a sanctified place. We're not going to smoke in front of the church. We'll try to conduct ourselves a certain way. There used to be a time you went to court and you dressed like your life could be affected by this.
I thought you saw him.
No, I didn't
right
see
next to that truck that I was asking you about. He was right in front of it. Mm-hmm.
Wow, I totally missed that one. Normally, I'm pretty vigilant, but I missed that one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, too, I mean, everybody's saying in the comments, like, lack of respect. I mean, so they agree.
He was all
so that's crazy. Before we get down to the nitty gritty, we'll lighten it up with some football scores. But yeah, I know my Commanders lost Thursday. Bears whipped our butt. Looks like the Jaguars beat the Bills. Saints, I mean, destroyed the Patriots today, 34-0. That's wild. Tennessee Titans couldn't tighten up after all. The Colts got y'all 23-16. I know somebody checked on Richard. His Ravens lost today to the Steelers. So, shout out to them. But shout out to Lemon Poindexter. She's a Steelers fan. I almost shout her out later today because it's her birthday just passed. So, there's that. Then we have the Falcons beat the Texans. Giants lost again, this time to the Dolphins. The Bengals beat the Cardinals. The Eagles pulled off their little win today, whatever. And I say it like that because we got a lot of my family members are Eagles fans, including my brother. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, whatever. Then the Jets beat the Broncos. Chiefs beat the Vikings. And hopefully we will all be saved from a Cowboys fan saying, we them boys. So I'm hoping that the 49ers beat them. They should.
What's the Browns been playing?
This might have been their bye week. It might have been a bye week for them. Every team gets like a bye week every now and then. And then the Packers and Raiders play. Those games are probably going on now. But don't leave the Nitty Gritty Show to watch those games. Y'all stay right here. Y'all just put the little TiVo on or whatever the little recorder is. Y'all get back to it when y'all get to it. It ain't going nowhere. Football ain't going nowhere. But let's get down to the nitty gritty. Of course, we're talking money tonight. We want to look at some money overall. We want to look at, some of these falsehoods about money, because there's some that say, black men don't make enough money, black women make all the money, we don't need each other, I can do bad all by myself. And it's like, maybe we kind of could just use these two income. Okay, maybe we can use these two income homes, and then also just to kind of investigate, where's the money at? Like, what occupations do you have to get some money, right? And then lastly, we'll talk about where the money's being spent. Right? Statistically, where Statista and all these financial gurus are saying where we're spending our money. Mm-hmm. So we'll break that down too. And that'll get interesting, right? And then obviously, we'll have a little bit of a conversation about what's blocking us with money. And actually, I'll start right there before I even get into the numbers. One of the biggest things holding us back in money right now in America, it's one, welfare, two, bias and prejudice and opportunities. It's a proven fact that a qualified black man is still 3 times more likely not to get the job, even if he interviews well. Because there's a bias towards black men, right? We know that right now we've seen an increase in enrollments for black women and even black women starting businesses. But where the system is still failing black women is that while black women are still enrolling at a higher rate, their graduation rates are still not that much more spectacular when you compare them against Asian women and white women. Also, black women are still making significantly less, around 70% to the white woman's daughter. dollar. And that's even less if you compare that black woman to a white man's dollar, right? Also, we see that black women, even though there's a lot of programs pushing towards black women to start their own businesses, right? Black women businesses are still failing at a higher rate than the average business. Average business typically fails in 3 to 5 years. We're seeing that there's a higher rate of failure for black female-owned businesses. So like, yeah, they're starting hair salons, they're starting t-shirt companies, they're doing the little cupcake shops. Some of them are doing big business with the government, but we know that some businesses don't last. And the highest businesses for black women right now have been in hair and have been in food. But these businesses just traditionally don't do well. When we look at the businesses that do great, it's the top 5 businesses they say to get into: storage, real estate, obviously. The next one was, they say vending machines is actually a good business, but the structure could be kind of hard to deal with. We got a couple of friends in vending machines. The next one is last mile shipping, right? So like if you could get yourself a couple of FedEx routes, because people are not going to stop ordering online. We see that's killing the retail business these days because everything has moved online. And there's a 5th business that escapes me that's really good to get into. It wasn't insurance. It was in-home senior care is another big business. And the reason why is because basically all you have to do is get all the certified people, get registered in the state the right way, and then you're going in somebody's house and you're helping them cook meals, helping them use the bathroom, wash them. But these are businesses that typically don't fail. But then when you look around, like how many black people tend to get into these endeavors, right? You know, we don't mind being club managers. We like opening up restaurants because we like food. Food speaks to the soul, and you know we're soulful people.
We love
I get
t-shirts.
it. We like making t-shirts.
That business gets
right?
on my nerves.
We like getting into event planning and things like that. But see, the thing is, they're volatile businesses because the second that the economy takes a volatile downturn, it automatically affects those businesses because people start saying, well, I don't need this multi-level marketing thing I got suckered into, because if I got to decide before paying my rent, paying my car note and this, well, that's going out the door. When you start looking at, well, do I need delicacies and cakes and stuff like that? Like, nah, we don't need no cake today. We got to pay this mortgage.
You know what's so funny though? They said during the pandemic though that they thought salons were going to receive less income, but they sustained. That means black women were still getting their hair done.
And
somehow, some way.
And you're kind of jumping ahead of us, but to Katrina's point, she brought up, and we're going to talk about this more towards the end. Black women, I think the number is like, and I'll read it when we get down there, but I think it's like 22% of the money they earn goes towards their hair. 22%. Black women make up like a crazy number, and like I said, I got the numbers towards the bottom when we get there, but they make up a crazy number of the hair and beauty market, more so than the amount of people they are, like to the point that they're eating into other demographics. That's how much they make up for in that space.
22%.
I think it's like, and the number might be worse.
But I mean, we have out of all the people in the world, and I've asked you this, and you know, it's just interesting that we are the only people in the world that have naturally curly hair. Every other race has straight hair.
Now, and I will say this: while we're on the system, we do realize that the system has beauty standards that work against us. But everybody in the world, to put it even more simply, for all of our white viewers watching, right? Because some of them will be like, well, I got curly hair. Well, no, specifically what me and Katrina are talking about is our hair, black people specifically, our hair grows up. Mm-hmm. Like literally like plants, like nature. It grows up almost towards the sun. Like our melanin loves and kisses the sun. I'm getting deep on y'all like I'm about to bust a poem on you. But I won't go there. But our hair grows up. Everyone else in the world, whether they're Indian, white, Caucasian, Latin, whatever, their hair grows down. Mm-hmm. Our hair grows up. Everyone else's hair grows down. But our hair being up, our hair being kinky, like even with my beard, I know people be like, oh, why are you light skinned? My beard just as kinky, as thick and full as any other black man, because that's what I am, right? And what they prefer to see is a straighter beard, close kept. But when they see this beard, it's kind of like, I don't know. I've heard so many times early in my career, maybe you should consider cutting your beard off. Cut this down. Cut this down. You get what I'm saying? Like, we go through this. Our sisters, while we need to do a better job of how we spend, but I do empathize with you guys because I know that a white girl can have a messy bun and they'll just let that ride. But let a sister walk in with a fro neatly kept, like my wife. She has thick, beautiful, luxurious hair. Long, thick, full. One of the first things I noticed when I met this woman, she had a big curly fro. And I was like, look at that chocolate thing there with all that fro. And then she had that little thing behind her too. And I was like, I saw that too. I'm like, man, she's bad, okay?
You're crazy.
Yeah, and then she curved me. But I got her. I persevered. But no, the point is their hair grows up. And you almost have to be intentional as a black person to value our natural black aesthetics, right? So I understand why women are spending that. But then it affects, and I know why, like, why are you talking about hair? I thought we were talking money. This does affect the money because so many black women have a hard time ascending corporate America. So many black men have a hard time ascending corporate America because prejudice and bias. I won't even call it outright racism. I'll just call it prejudice and bias that other members of our society, you guys don't understand that you're participating in. You'll compare me against another qualified white guy, and something about that white guy, the way he speaks, maybe his nasally tone, I don't know what it is. You just feel like you're just more trusting of him versus me, even though I'm a veteran, even though I'm college educated. I have all the things, I have all the history that you would need, but something about the white guy next to me, sometimes I've been in situations where they want to choose that. I've been in meetings where you could be talking to someone, and they're looking at my white counterpart who doesn't have the skill set I have. You need to listen to me if we're going to talk about this project, but people will divert to me and automatically talk to the white guy. And I don't think these people are racist. I just think automatically there's a bias and a prejudice that sometimes our counterparts are not aware of, right? And then it affects us financially. They don't want to do business with me. They want to do business with the white guy. And the whole time the white guy, the VP, the CRO, whoever I'm in the meeting with, is telling these people, hey, he's your guy. I don't know. I can't answer that question. You need to ask him. I know you've dealt with it too in corporate America.
Well, I've been national now for a very long time. I've lost count, well over a decade, if not more. But I will admit that when the pandemic happened, I was actually grateful because I was working 100% remote and you didn't have to see my hair. And you know that there are moments where when they want me to get on camera, I have like almost like anxiety.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, what am I gonna do with my hair? Yeah. I've seen this. This is a real thing, guys.
Yeah, like I get like almost like anxiety, like, or if I have to go into the office, it's like, oh, maybe I should try to plan to get my hair done before I go into the office because it's like I've had experiences where when I wear my natural hair, people are just staring at my hair and not me. And I feel like, unfortunately, to move up in corporate America, there is this image that you have to, present yourself as. And I always have anxiety whenever my hair is not done in a professional manner. So in some ways, I'm grateful that I have a monitor that is blocking people from being biased towards me because now my work just speaks for itself. Before it was how I looked, how I dressed, what I said, how my hair looked. Now it's just your work speaks for itself.
And that's a proven study. Actually, Forbes talked about this last year in 2022, where they was talking about how tech and the ability to work remote has opened up the door into professions that black folks typically didn't permeate. Not just black, but black and brown. We're referring to our Latina people with a little bit more melanin in their skin. It's opened up the door for them to get into spaces that typically they couldn't get into before. Because now you don't have to be constantly reminded that, oh, this is a black person or a Latino person. You just see, sometimes they don't even have a picture. In my case, I actually have a picture up at my company. Like, so you're going to still see me.
They still think you, I don't know how.
I don't know. Like, they see Wanda Costa, but like, it's clear looking at all this blackness over here.
No, they still like, oh, I thought he was Dominican.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's funny. They force it on me. But it has opened up the door for us in those spaces. So when we look at these numbers, keep this stuff in mind that we do have things working against us as black and brown people, right? But then there's some real things we have to have a conversation about when we talk about the numbers. We know that redlining devalues our homes. We know that there's a lack of education when we're learning about how to invest our money, right? Those are all real things, and we need to challenge the system to do better by us, by educating. And for those that know better, do better. And then also pass that each one teach one. If you know how to build your credit, if you know how to purchase a home, if you know about benefits, share that information. Don't be like that one dude around the crew stunting on everybody. Put people on. Share your information. Don't just hold it in so that way you can laugh at folks like, yeah, I just made this. I just got that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm wearing something nice on my wrist. I'm driving in this. Yeah, look at you. Like, we need to get off of that as black folks and start sharing the information and stop competing. I was so upset when I found out that Kevin Garnett is starting his own 3-on-3 basketball league when Ice Cube already has that, the Big Three. So Kevin Garnett is starting a 3-on-3 league that's going to be a direct competitor of another black man. Why not, as an NBA player, knowing that Ice Cube needs all the help he can get because he's literally fighting against the NBA and the establishment, why not work together to build a better brand in the Big Three?
Yeah.
You see?
I even heard that And1 at one time was like major, but then I don't know what happened.
Well, And1 was started by 2 white guys and 1 black dude.
They had like tennis shoes and everything.
Yeah, they was moving, but then, egos got in the way because the And1 tapes, but those folks weren't really making any real money. If you watch the N1 documentary, you'll find out they was kind of playing the talent. But the talent is what made it hot.
It was hot.
And once again, it's like we don't understand our business. And these are things that work in the music business, whether it's acting, video, you name it. We don't own enough, so that hurts us too. And then when we try to own, we still come up against challenges. We've seen this with a lot. We've seen this with Tyler Perry and them trying to buy BET. The list goes on.
Oh, did you, before you move on to the next point, did you see Brent's comment about our hair grows up in the direction of God?
Yeah. I was going there. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it grows in the direction of God. That's right. Our hair grows up, people. So there's nothing dreadful about our locks and things of that nature. It's beautiful. Brent said, he didn't like that either. The Kevin Garnett thing. Why not work with Ice Cube to improve his league? Exactly. Those are the simple things we do to get in the way of ourselves. So let's get into some more numbers. So let's talk about this black money. So a lot of times location matters, people. I know a lot of folks say, I'm trying to create this here, I'm trying to create that there. Even in the federal government, there's only 33 cities you could work at remote that they will allow you to work still for the federal government. 33 cities that they've listed across the United States that you could work at and still work remote for the federal government. So you can't live in somebody's, nowhere, Oklahoma, and still have a job in the federal government. They'll say, well, listen, you move there, you can't work here. You have to be listed in one of these 33 cities they've listed. And now corporate America is starting to follow the lead also of the government. And they're starting to do the same thing. They're starting to say, well, if you live, like I see a lot of stuff in my industry where if you want the job, you will have to either relocate to like San Francisco or somewhere like that, or you can stay here in DC, or sometimes there's a place in Boston. But they are limiting now what cities you can work out of. If you're Midwest, sometimes Nashville, Chicago, but you just can't, there's not going to be an opening typically in Harrisburg, Mississippi. You get what I'm saying? It's like, no, you're going to have to move to a certain type of city. So there have that. So let's talk about those numbers. The states, and we're not even drilling down to black yet, but keep in mind, black men tend to make 81% to a white man's dollar, and women tend to make 70% to a white man's dollar. It's a little better than that when you compare to white women, but if you're comparing to a white man's dollar, that's it. But these are just the averages across people, period. But just a number to have in the back of your head, right? So states with the highest average salaries: Massachusetts, $76,000 a year. New York, $74,000 a year. California, $73,000 a year.
It's hard to imagine they didn't have DC on this list.
DC is not on that list, but they're looking at the average across the state. Keep in mind, in Maryland,
DC's not a state.
DC's, well,
that's why.
That's a weird thing that they don't. Sometimes they list DC as a state. Maryland was one of the highest ones listed, and they had, in this particular category, they kind of had Maryland considered south. They started northeast at Delaware because Maryland is still south of the Mason-Dixon line, but Maryland was the highest one, sitting around 69,000. Mm-hmm. And then keep in mind, most of the money in Maryland is in Montgomery County, Prince George's County, now Charles County, Howard. But the thing is, these people have proximity to DC. Most of the people in those counties are making money out of DC or corporations that have significance to DC. So there's that. The lowest average salaries. Check this out. Number one, the poorest state, we all know, well, maybe I don't know this, but Mississippi, $45,000. Next to them, Arkansas or Arkansas, depending on how you pronounce that, $48,000. And then after that, West Virginia, coal mine state, $49,000, right? So where you live, that matters. Keep in mind, those were all Midwest and those were all Southern. Mississippi of that list is the only one that is predominantly black. The rest of them are actually predominantly white. Then, when you just look at regions, period, with the highest average salary in the Northeast, if you break down the 4 regions, it goes Northeast sitting at $65,000, then the West So you got to think LA, San Francisco, places like that, sitting at 60,000. The Midwest, 56,000, and at the end, bottom of the list, the South, sitting at 54,000. So when we start talking about where's the money, where's the opportunity for black people, it's in the Northeast. Virginia, even though Virginia and Maryland are not considered Northeast, they're like Northeast adjacent. It's the Mid-Atlantic. Those are the two best states right now for black enterprise. And a lot of that has to do with having proximity to D.C. A lot of black people out here getting into consulting, learning how to take advantage of MBE and things of that nature and make money through the government. That's a big reason why that number is higher up here. So, and it takes to account. And then I hear a lot of people talk about, oh, I think black people are doing so much better. We make a lot of money. I want to ask everybody before I put the numbers out, I'll see how quick y'all can respond. What percentage of black people you think make more than $100,000 a year? Or better yet, what percentage of black households do you think make more than $100,000 a year? I'd be curious to hear what you guys say. But you always seen the numbers. But before you seen the numbers, what would you have guessed?
Percentage of black households make more than 100,000. Probably would have guessed like less than 10%.
Now, when you're okay, so I say Brent says 5. Now, if you was to base it off social media,
I probably would say at least maybe like 25%.
Right,
black households.
Social media, they cap so hard. You would say 50%.
No, I would say at least 25 based on social media. I'd be like, okay, maybe like at least 25 because they've been making luxury seem like it's got to be the standard. It's crazy because growing up, the standard
about that luxury thing too.
Yeah, growing up, the standard of a home was one bathroom for a home, one closet for a room, and it wasn't a walk-in closet. Sometimes when I grew up, I had to share a room with my sister. We shared a room, we shared a closet.
That's almost like unheard of these days for kids to share rooms.
And then nowadays it's like all walk-in closets, flat screen TVs, den. I mean, just the home. What do you call it? Home. Is it called the home flooring, home maps? What you call those things?
The blueprint.
The blueprints to the home. They're just different.
Oh yeah. Everything is different now, right?
And everybody luxury.
I've seen a lot of 5%, and actually, you guys are kind of close in a way, and I'm going to tell y'all why. If you look at 22% of black households make over $100,000 per year, but then you have to still quantify what that 22% makes up. So 11.4% of that is, or should I say, 11.4% make between 100 and 150,000. And then 100 to 150,000 sounds great, but then consider the fact that welfare, when it started in the 1970s, if a woman made $20,000, she qualified for welfare, right? This is what hurt a lot of black families when we talk about wealth. But then in the 1970s, if you compare that to now, that was the equivalent to making $75,000 a day. So $20,000 back in 1970 was the equivalent to $75,000 here in 2023.
And that's more than the average from all the states.
Exactly. So then when you start looking at that, it's like, okay, so then y'all start thinking about the money. That $100,000 seems like a lot because you're like, yeah, because, my grandma or my great-grandma, she did it all by herself with $20,000 getting free food stamps, some WIC, SNAP, whatever you call it. Had like a little cheap home to stay in, and then she still earned or had the ability to earn up to what would be $70,000 a day. That makes a huge difference in the stretching of that economy. But guess what? If you earn more than $30,000 a day, I think is round about the number for most states, you don't qualify for food stamps and SNAP and all that kind of stuff. So think about how destitute you are now if you're depending on welfare to live. And when you think about what 70,000 is, if 70,000 is the equivalent to 20,000 back in 1970, that means if you make between $100,000 and $150,000 a year as a household, it's not bad. It's not bad by a long shot. I mean, that's not bad. You can survive.
22% of black households earn over 100K. So how much does white households?
Oh, so when and I didn't put the white number up. So, but for white, it was like the number was like darn near doubled. I think it was. It was like 48% of white households earn more than 100,000.
And same thing was Asians more than them?
Asians are even higher than that. It was like almost like 60%. Like Asians are like literally killing us in every category, marriage, everything.
And the thing is, one would assume, even though you see a lot of Asian people having their own business, I would assume they probably are doing well.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like their numbers their numbers are significantly better. I mean, just it is what it is, right? So, and then if you break it down between black households that are making between 150 and 200,000, that's 4.6% of black households. And that 150 to 200 gets a little more comfortable. No matter where you live in the country, if you make between 150 and 200 as a household, you're getting kind of comfortable now. You know, paying for insurance, paying for an emergency at the house when that happens, you can take care of that. But then only 5.7% makes over 200,000. That 200,000 plus, that is a real sweet spot because now you can afford a luxury brand here now and then. You want to go out to a nice restaurant, you want to take vacations overseas, you want to be able to afford having that car that you need or whatever. That makes a huge difference on your lifestyle, right? So then it's like, well, what kind of people are making that kind of money? How are they getting to that kind of bag? Well, let's break that down, right? A lot of times in the black community, we're really big on education. Whether it's you're African, Jamaican, just regular, typical Negro, whatever you are, we make a big deal about education. And education can have an effect on the quality of lifestyle you get based off that money you make, right? So if we're looking at doctoral degree people, they tend to make around, the median is $2,000 a week in earnings or $108,000 median annual income. Median is the number you want because average is now calculating all those billionaires into the number and distorts it. So you always want to look for the median number when you're looking at a large number base. You want to always look at the median. So the median, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I know a doctorate degree that made this. We're not talking about your anecdotal experiences, folks. We're talking about the median across the nation. If you have a doctorate degree, probably sitting around 108,000. Professional degrees like your JD, certain type of medical degrees that focus on a thing, once again, still 108,000. Master degree holders, 86,000. Bachelor degree holders, 74,000. Associate degree holders, 52,000. Some college, but no degree, probably gonna sit around 48,000. High school diploma, no college, 44,000 on average. Less than a high school diploma, 35,000. So education does matter. We see it plays a role, but then you have to break down education and what does that mean? What degrees are folks getting? Well, if you want to know degrees with the highest median salaries, it's electrical engineering at 110,000.
Oh, wow.
Computer and information systems at 104,000. Aerospace engineering at 100,000. Pharmacy, pharmaceutical sciences and administration, 100,000. Computer programming and data processing, 100,000. Chemical engineering, 100,000. Materials engineer and materials science, 98K. Mechanical engineering, 95K. Engineering and industrial management, 95K. Industrial organization and psychology, 90,000.
I wonder if my dad knew that because he has an electrical engineering degree.
Oh yeah, and Mike was doing all right.
I wonder.
Now notice what was not on the list. JD was not on the list. Juris Doctorate. You didn't see doctor on the list.
I did not. Yeah, you're right.
Because when they're looking at the median salary, I get it. There are some doctors making $250,000.
Or nurse. Yeah, I didn't see nurse either.
But when you start looking at the highest median salary, no matter where you at, what you got a good chance of making. You could be in Nashville, Clarksville, DC, New York, Cali, wherever. On the median, all of these technical degrees are the ones making the money.
And I will say,
and a lot of Asians permeate this space.
I will say, to get those salaries, you have to have agency and advocacy for yourself.
Yeah.
If you do not negotiate your salary, it don't matter that you have it. They're not going to give you a competitive salary. You have to go in there confident, and you got to negotiate.
Now let's look at the one with the lowest median salary. And this is not saying that to chase your dreams, if this is your dream. I'm just saying, but baby, go into it aware. When you do it, just know you're probably not going to get rich at your day job.
And as you said, going to it aware, this means if you know you're going to be going into student loan debt, I advise you to get a degree that's going to help you offset that student
And the crazy
loan
thing
debt.
is you have schools like WGU and Tennessee Tech. They're not even that expensive, and you could get one of these higher median salary jobs. You don't got to go to MIT for these jobs. They don't even really care where you went to school at.
True.
They just want to know, do you understand Linux? Do you understand A+? Do you know how to code in Python and all these different places? That's all they care about. Now, some of these other degrees, as we go through them, they really care about where you went to school at. Let's invest. So lowest median salaries. Early childhood education, $43,000. Teachers need to make more. They do, but they don't make no money. Now, the good thing is a lot of the student repayment programs are helpful towards teachers. But, once again, $43K. Film and video or photographic arts, $42,000, guys. I know it looks cool when somebody's working at the radio station or they're taking pictures of celebrities all the time, but there's not a lot of money in it. Truly across the board. There's a couple of folks, anecdotal situations where they might do well, but there's not that much money in it, guys. Theology and religious vocations. I know a lot of people want to be the pastor because it's like, nice to be the big fish in the small pond. That's how some of these churches operate, not all. But it ain't a lot of money in it. $42,000. Fine arts. And they be some bougie people, boy. The ones that know like what your art is worth and everything. They can look at your watch and tell you, oh, yeah, I know all this. And they know how to drink the wine the right way, the sommeliers and all that. Yeah, still, $41,000. Music. A lot of people want to go to school for music. And if you're someone like Herman, you're retired and you can have a roof over your head off of retirement, and now you're doing an active passion, I think you should start at Granny Sue Records. Shout out to our sponsor during this conversation, right? But there's not a lot of music money in having a music degree. Typically $40,000 a year. Miscellaneous fine arts. You study pottery or something. $40,000. Studio arts. $38,000. Drama and theater. A lot of people want to go to Hollywood because you hear about so-and-so making this much money being an actor, and so-and-so made this much money a show. The people that were doing Game of Thrones, some of them were making $1 million an episode.
Well, part of the problem is that our society doesn't value the arts, but then we do kind of idolize like fame.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like when you think about, we think about it, like, oh my God, they're so talented. We get all these podcasts, people who are acting, and they're making it seem like they're just the most talented people in the world. And it's like, really, the people we should be giving kudos to is the people who are building these skyscrapers, the people who are coming up with like architecture. You know what I mean?
Building your apps and designing mainframes and stuff like that. Those are the folks.
They're not getting invited to, award shows or
they're not walking the red carpet, but they got that money. They'll pull up in that Bugatti on you. You don't even know who it is. There's a regular dude in some shorts. Don't even match his shirt. But balling out of control because he got that tech money. But then, so you got the drama and arts, they're only making $38K. Cosmetology services, culinary arts. See, a lot of people getting degrees in that, right? But $37K a year.
When you say degrees, is that the same thing as
or certification?
I was gonna say because I know a lot of people who do hair and they have the license, but I don't know that they have a degree.
This also includes in this case a degree or the certification, right? And then last and least, visual and performing arts.
What is that?
35K. It's people who get into they might go through a class where they can do programming for a radio station or a TV station. Some of them end up going into
not marketing.
Not the marketing people, but the folks who are putting the information together. It's not a lot of money, like the engineers that when we were at Listen Vision back in the day.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not a lot of money in that visual and performing arts.
Interesting.
Yeah, like that could be sometimes forms of graphic design.
But graphic designers are making money.
They do make money if you end up working for a big studio like Pixar.
Or even my company. Them graphic designers ain't doing bad.
But then even then they throw them under the tech bracket. But then there's a lot of them getting degrees in this and they're not getting those jobs. Once again, we're looking at the median. We know there's some people in all those different education vocational values. There are some people making great money in it, but that doesn't speak for. It doesn't have that much of an effect on the median salary when you go into that endeavor. And we got a lot of black folks doing these different jobs. They go to FAMU, join a fraternity, join a sorority. They majored in fine arts. They still got some swag to them because they work at the radio station. You know what I'm saying? They get invited to the BET Music Matters tour. They do a little they do a little promotion on the side, but there ain't no real money in it. But we are impressed by it socially. But we have to start being honest about where the money is.
Absolutely impressed.
Yeah. And then just want to break down the numbers, right? Because you hear some black women, black men, whatever the case is, wherever you land on the conversation, we're not coming together to bring these salaries together. Like even if you're on the lower end, you take two early childhood education people, and you're still sitting at $86,000 a year, and that is the medium household income for America. So that's not bad if you can figure that out. 2 teachers get together. It's not a bad lifestyle. You can survive off of that in America. You might want to be smart about what city you move into, but median income, y'all can technically survive. And if you live in a place like New York, D.C., the Northeast, chances are that number's going to go over 50,000. So now you got a 6-figure household income. But let's break down as of 2020 census what these numbers look like when we start comparing ourselves as black people, right? So among full-time workers, women had median weekly earnings of $902, while men's weekly earnings in general were $1,100. Now, when we start breaking this down for men, black men specifically, we compare about $869 for black men and $823 for Hispanic men, right? When you look at median weekly earnings for black men at $869, that's 77.5% the median for white men, which sits at $1,100. The only people doing better than that are Asian men. Asian men make around $1,200 a week. Their numbers are better. But Latino and black men, relatively close the same. Black men sitting at $869. Latino men sitting at $823. And then when we look at women on average, even though you guys are going to college at a higher rate, y'all even graduate at a higher rate, but your median earnings are still only $768 a week. And that's only 84% of what white women make a week, which is $910. So there's some racial prejudice there, but then also you got to consider the jobs that a lot of our sisters are getting their degrees in. They're going to college, but are they getting degrees in that first list of degrees I named or the second list of degrees? And we know typically it's the second list of degrees, or if it's somewhere in between, it's like an RN, it's sociology, places like that.
Well, to your point, I was reading because we know that tech pays well. There has been a surge of people trying to get all these certs in tech, and tech is not paying the same as it did 5 years ago.
Yeah, because some people are getting, like, there's a lot of people getting certs in like A+ and C+. Those are old networking and things like that. If you're not looking at Security Plus, and if you're not looking at Linux, and if you don't know how to really read the language, it's going to hurt you. And then the people are still making the most money in tech. They're getting the bachelor's and master's degree along with the certification. And then those are the people making the most money. When you just have the cert, see, they caught that cheat code already. That's why there's so many people that have the certs. They're going back to school and still getting a computer engineering degree. So that way they can then, as you were talking about earlier, you can negotiate for the higher salary.
Yeah.
But without it, it's kind of hard to get it. Or to at least have some degree and then get the certs.
Right.
You know, you have to combine it. Because if you at least have a degree, you can have a degree in whatever. But you go get a couple of certs in Scrum or whatever, you might convince somebody to pay you $160,000 a year. You know what I'm saying? So then you got to talk about unemployment rates, right? If you look at the unemployment rates, unemployment rates are typically worse for men, except when we talk about white. So 3.1% of white women are unemployed, but 3% of white men are unemployed. So the unemployment number is higher for women. So you have more white men gainfully employed than anybody. If you look at Hispanic women, they have an unemployment rate at 4.9%. Hispanic men have a unemployment rate at 4.2%. They're still employed at a better rate than their women. Now, black men, when we go to black people, that's when the numbers reverse. Black women are unemployed at a rate of 6.2%. Black men are unemployed at a rate of 7%. Keep in mind what I said earlier. Black men are 3 times more likely not to get a job that they're qualified for. So there's obvious bias and prejudice in the hiring process. But, you know, we'll crap on black men and be like, oh, y'all ain't this, y'all ain't that. But obviously we're being attacked in the workplace.
I don't think it's that. I think it's honestly about visibility. And I think if you go to a Howard University and for every one black guy there's 22 black women, your experience is going to be, I don't see any black men, so I don't know where to find the men that are making that kind of money. And then we know once you get out of college, the chances of you getting into a corporate job where there's going to be an overwhelming amount of black men there to choose from are going to lessen. So I think that these women are having these experiences where they're not in spaces where they're finding counterparts who are doing what they're doing, making that kind of money. So they're like,
but the thing is, we say making that kind of money, but then we just looked at the media numbers. Black women are still making about $100 less a week.
Right.
than men
I
in
think
general.
they want the men. I think they want the men.
They want the sophistication.
No. I think they want the men that work at their jobs, and they're not there.
No, those men are not.
Or they're
not there.
married already.
Well, exactly. They need to be. They might want to take a page out of Ebony K. Williams'
Because
book.
I know for a fact if I put you or anybody else where I work, I don't want to say where I work, it would be, trust me, if you go to an event, it'd be like they'd be like cheetah pounce on you, because they'd be like, oh wow, oh, there's a black guy here, oh my god, like, you know what I mean? Like,
he speaks in full sentences. Like, no, I get it. It's crazy, but whatever. I mean, but I'm just saying, I like to give out the numbers. I don't make the news. I just report it. But
so I think we should encourage, if you want to find, a black woman or a black man, understand stats, like Juan just said. So if you are requiring men to make a certain amount of money, he just told you the areas in which the median income for black people are highest. You might want to consider living there. That's a strategy, right? If you are not finding, suitable people, you might want to put yourself in spaces where you can find said suitable people, like doing community service, like.
That's a bar, because keep in mind, nobody was paying any mind to those guys that were in the engineering building in college. You know where everybody was at? They was over there at the University Center hanging out.
Maybe we weren't, but the other races was.
Oh, no, they were. Oh, at University of Maryland? Those
were.
Men and women, those Asian women, oh, they know where to look.
They know where to look.
Oh, they know, like,
They're strategic.
Let's go to the engineering building and the math department, because
Yeah.
I know if you're there, you're probably going into one of those degrees. You got some money.
Yeah.
But our people, we impress with folks in the drumline. And so they majoring in music. So that lame dude that's going to go make 100,000, you don't want him. But that cool swaggy cat that's on the drum line, he going to make 40,000, more than likely.
And truth be told, it doesn't really matter about what a man's making. If his heart is not right, it doesn't matter. Because a man that makes $500,000 a year, but he beats you, do you really want that? Or he cheats on you, do you really want that?
Man.
Or he has never been properly trained, so he's got like boo-boo draws, he don't know how to clean, he throwing food any and everywhere. Do you really want that? You don't. So I'm saying that because there are some grown men who ain't never been taught. They don't know how to do nothing. They don't know how to wash clothes. Coddle. Because we raise our daughters and we coddle our sons. These mamas do.
See, we were, and I guess we didn't have that because since it was 3 boys in the house.
You say your mama made sure y'all got it together.
And, she was military too, so we got it both ways. So everybody was to make sure we did our part. But yeah, it's a thing.
I'll say a quick story. There was a guy in college. He invited some folks over for a house party. We went to his bathroom. I promise you not. Hotmess.com. I'm like, bro, what's going on? Me and my friends came out here to DC for homecoming. I don't want to throw my friends out there. Bathroom, a hot mess. We had to clean it. They're like, oh, we guys. That ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Your parents should have taught you how to properly clean. Like, what's going on
There's
here?
a video that went viral with a young boy cleaning, and I was so happy to see that. I sent that video to everybody I know.
He did a
I'm
good
like,
job.
Man, I'm like, that's what's up. I like, even if they was directing him, that's what you want to see from a 9-year-old son. Like, man, he cleaned that room together.
So my point is, we focus so much on money, we're not really looking at, can you build a life with this person? Because who really wants to take care of a person and like a man?
Those are things to consider. So let's go over some poverty stats real quick. There are dramatic disparities in poverty rates by racial and ethnic groups, and smaller disparities by gender. Men and women of color are more likely to live in poverty than white men and women. We know that. Poverty rates in 2019 were 7% and 9% respectively, men versus women. In that same year, the rates of black people who lived in poverty were 19% for black men, 23% for black women.
Because they got those kids. That's why.
We're going to talk about that, though.
They got those kids. Well, we ran out of time.
No, we're going to go over a little bit, guys. So, hey, we're going to go over a little bit. We've been talking and dialogue, but I want to get these numbers through. So just bear with us. If you got to drop off, that's fine. You can always watch the replay later. We'll go over. I mean, actually, in these conversations, we've been going over like 10 or 15 minutes, respectively, every time. 20% for Native women, Native American men, 25% for Native American women, 16% for Hispanic men, 19% for Hispanic women, 10% for both Asian men and Asian women. So people of color are affected for poverty at a higher rate than white folks. According to 2019 data highlighted by Dr. Mariko Chang, the median wealth for single women was $36,000, while the median wealth for single men was $43,000. Single women held 82 cents of wealth for every dollar owned by a single man. This is regardless of race. Now let's break it down to race. African Americans, who in many categories have the greatest gender economic equality, have the greatest gender wealth disparity, though still having little wealth compared to whites. Single black men, median wealth was $10,000 compared to single black women's median wealth, which is only $1,700. Single white women have slightly higher median wealth levels than single white men. Single white
$1,700 per month. What was that? What is
no,
that?
like we're looking at your median wealth, meaning if we were to look at basically if we look at all your debts and then look at all your assets and we look at all your cash money.
Such a small amount of money.
That's right, because you know what? Yeah, black women are going to college, but guess what you're getting when you go to college?
Debt.
Student loan debt.
Yeah.
Student loan debt. Compared to that brother that's working at Metro,
He don't have no debt.
he don't got no debt, and he still figured out a way to make $80,000, $90,000 a year.
They don't want that man.
The numbers, I'm just saying, I'm just reading the numbers. People get so emotional about what things appear to be on campus. And
No,
what things,
I'm not saying you're wrong, but they don't want that man. I mean, they want the man that is. It's just interesting because you said before, and I think you should say it here, how back in the day, this standard for men just wasn't the same. Because I feel like most women were okay with it, just a good man, right?
and then this, well, yeah, but now those things have changed. A good man now has to be 6 foot tall, give you the best.
No, you said it was about sophistication nowadays.
It's just the sophistication, you know, how well you dress. And sophistication varies from different types of people, intellectual level. For some women, it's like, oh, okay, you wore a nice suit, your hands get manicured, you got us a reservation at Philippe Child's. For some women, it's like, yeah, I saw you was blinged out, you know what I'm saying? You was sitting VIP, bopping bottles, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, it changes, right? But then this was an interesting one to me, and I did some research into it. So single white women's wealth is estimated at $81,000 compared to single white men at $78,000.
That is a very stark difference from single black women and men.
Oh yeah.
Like,
it's bad. It's bad.
What?
But I was surprised to see that white women have a higher wealth than black men. But a big part was that white women are inheriting more wealth. I mean, white people period are inheriting more wealth. And also white women spend more than the economy, period. But what they said is like white men like they like their toys, like their toolboxes and stuff like that. So it makes a difference sometimes in the wealth, like where they're holding the money and staving it.
I also wonder from the stat you gave earlier if the reason why they're holding their wealth more is because they're not maybe spending as much on maintenance like we are.
Yeah,
because we spend a lot of money on hair, makeup, lashes.
I'm pretty sure it's having an effect. And like I said, it's only
they might do Botox, but they're not going to get their hair done the way we are.
It's a $3,000 difference. But man, I mean, black men, and that's still lower, $10,000 compared to you guys at $1,700. That's darn near $9,000 difference.
I would dare to say, I feel like black women spend so much money on just looking good, and
we
put pressure on each other to look good. Like me being no makeup right now. Why I was like, oh, you look beautiful without it. There are spaces I would go and like, she basic. She ain't got no makeup, no lashes. Her hair not done.
Yep. And then last number, Hispanics have the lowest wealth when examining single men and women. Single Hispanic men's median wealth was $4,200 compared to single Hispanic women median wealth at $1,000.
And I want to put the caveat because I did go to school for statistics. Okay. When they do surveys to get data such as this, there is a demographic of every single race that is going to put white. Meaning there are some black people who are going to put white because they just don't want to be identified as black. There's going to be a large population of people who are Asian, MENA, or Hispanic who are going to put white. And that always is going to skew the data because they don't want to be identified as anything other than white.
Yeah, that can stave the data a little bit, but it's not going to change the numbers by that much because you're talking about a minority of people, probably less than 6% that are actually doing that. You get what I'm saying? White is, if anything, more affected by the fact that they're telling people from Syria and all that stuff to identify as white, or people from Egypt to identify as white. And that gets a little interesting because we know those people financially do pretty well. Almost lost my spot. Okay, now this was very interesting. Comparatively, single white father's wealth was $41,000, roughly 13 more than single white men. Did y'all hear that?
Well, I have to check,
The food? Okay, I'll just finish off the rest of this. Katrina's cooking right now and she got stuff going. So I'm not going to rush the show. I'm going to go with these numbers. Y'all stay with me. Bye, Katrina.
Bye. Because I
All
don't
right.
want it to be
Don't forget to close that door.
Okay.
All right, we ain't trying to be unprofessional, y'all, but she was cooking food downstairs. We don't want to burn our house. Lord, we don't want to do that. But so interesting numbers here. Comparatively, single white fathers. Listen again. Single white fathers' wealth was 41,000, roughly more than 13,000 more than single white men. Meaning fathers are doing better than single white men. But you hear a lot of women that say, "I don't want a man that has kids." Just saying. The median wealth of single Hispanic mothers is $50. Half or barely existent of the $100 median wealth of single Hispanic women overall. Did y'all hear that? So when it came to the women, single Hispanic mothers, theirs is $50, but the single Hispanic women are doing a little better. The median wealth of single Hispanic fathers, though, is $1,250. Slightly higher than the $950 median wealth of a single Hispanic man overall. So once again, you meet a Hispanic man, there's a good chance that he, with kids, his overall wealth is still a little bit better than his single counterpart, right? But we put the single counterpart on a pedestal. Lost my spot. This increase does little to address wealth poverty. The situation is similar amongst African Americans. Single black women without children have a median wealth of just $200. Once again, single black women without children. But for single black mothers, that figure's dropped to $0. Single black mothers are doing the worst financially of any group. And then, even though the wealth grew a little bit, the median wealth for a black single man is $300, but for a single black father, it becomes then $500. So you can't really talk much there. I mean, yeah, chances are if you meet a man of color or a man with kids, he's actually wealth-wise typically doing better than his single counterpart. But man, I mean, when you're talking about under $1,000 total wealth, that's pretty bad. That means a lot of us, for those in the back that don't understand what I just said, that means we're in debt. Because when they're tabulating our wealth, they're looking at, okay, your mortgage, if you was to sell your house off, how much money would you have in pocket? They're looking at your bank accounts, how much money do you have saved? Your IRAs, your Roths, whatever, your stocks. And then they're looking at your credit card debt and your card debt. And when they break that all down, they're saying most of us don't have more than $2,000 to rub together. We barely got 2 pennies, if I'm being exaggeratory about it. So we have to do better about where we're putting our money and what we're calling important. Next, let's talk about educational achievement. Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, and whites over the age of 25 are not college graduates. Majority of them are not college graduates. Although there are overall gradual increases in college attainment for all groups, there are still significant disparities. Across the board, women tend to have higher levels of education attainment despite generally having lower socioeconomic indicators. So women are getting more degrees even though they don't have the money to support all that degree they get. White women receive 60% of the associate's degrees and then 56% of the bachelor's degrees. Meaning, if 100 white women graduated, if 100 white people graduated today, 60 of them, 60 of the associate degrees, 60 of the women would have the associate's degree. 56%, if we're looking at the bachelor's degree graduation, 56 of the women had that. And then the latter half of that equation, the divide would be white men. So not that big of a deal, right? For Black, Hispanic, and Native American groups, there is a greater disparity in educational achievement between men and women. In the Black community, 67% of the associate degrees were Black women. 64% of the bachelor's degrees were awarded to women. So once again, if you have a graduation for associate degrees, you got 67 of those people are going to be women. Whereas after that, 33% of them are going to be males. What's interesting about that, though, is we know that Black women have the highest rise in college attendance. So you mean to tell me at the school, Black women are outnumbering men 10 to 1 on average? Whether it's a PWI, HBCU, on average, all colleges, Black women are outnumbering men 10 to 1. But when it's time to graduate, you guys only have about a 20% markup. So meaning all these people are at school, and then when y'all get to graduation time, those numbers of Black women have dwindled. And what they found in another study is that when you start looking at pregnancy, when you start looking at competing needs for jobs and all of that, black women aren't graduating at a higher rate. And that's why I said that. So I know a lot of people will see this like, dang, Juan, what you got a black women? I don't got nothing against black women. I'm married to one, been married to others before. Like, I got no problem with black women. But the thing is, some of these numbers, they'll fool you into thinking that things are better than what they really are. Yeah, you guys are enrolling at a higher rate, but you're still dropping out at the highest rate. Right? And the few black men who are going are having more success in actually completing their degree endeavors. And this is important. So when we start looking down on one another and we're not finding ways to work together, these are contributing factors. And they cannot be ignored, people. They cannot be ignored. And Katrina left, so y'all ain't got nobody to fight for y'all on the podcast now. And then, last, I just want to talk about some of the places we're spending money, and we'll just start to wrap up. But African-American women spend the most money on hair each month, with 21% spending more than 25% of their monthly budget on hair compared to only 5% of Caucasian women. And we know that there's some bias involved there because there's sometimes more pressure for black women to look a certain way or conform to certain beauty standards. But at some point, it's almost ridiculous because it's like one of the contributing factors to health concerns, and we're going to talk about this in a later episode, is that we find that black women aren't going to the gym and not working out as much as their other counterparts because one of the key factors is their hair. They're trying to preserve their hair from getting messed up. So they're actually facing obesity at a higher rate than anybody in America. And a lot of it is drawing right back to their hair. I can't mess up my hair, girl. I just got my weave done. I just got this sewing. I just got these bundles. I paid a lot of money for this Indian Remy, this Brazilian whatever, whatever they be buying out there, right? And it's affecting the finances to the point that when you start looking at, you have a lot of people saying social media wise, you would think like, man, every black girl I come across is just balling and running things. But then it's like something is happening from the enrollment in school to how we spend our money because the numbers clearly show there's something going wrong. And we have to be real about that. And this is not me beating up on black women. This is me just saying, hey, guys, let's just have a real look in the mirror. I get it. We deal with racism. We deal with this. We got redlining. We're not getting paid as much as we're supposed to. Those are real factors. But then the money we actually have, what are we doing with it? At some point, you have to be accountable to that. At some point. Also, but while black individuals routinely account for the lion's share of sneaker sales each year, black retailers hardly benefit. So you'll get like these folks that'll start black shoe stores and all that stuff, but we're not even buying from our own people. Black retailers are not even benefiting from all the money. We spend the most money on sneakers, but then, once again, this is about us valuing one another. We won't even go at least try to buy the sneakers from the black guy down the street that has a store. It's like, all right, the new Jordans come out. Let me go to such and such business, which I know is black owned, and buy the Jordans there. No, we don't do it because we just got to have them today, right? Today, black consumers spend around $835 billion a year, but that number is about 10% of overall consumption. So it still doesn't quite reach the population shares. So obviously, we spend a lot of money, but if our population share we're sitting at around 12.5%, we're about 2.5% short of our spending power. And this, in some ways, when you start talking about voting and who they look at, who they care about, they start saying, well, you have some financial power, but at the same time, we can't rely on your daughter to make a significant dent in advertising and in this and in car sales and in home sales. So therefore, they tend to ignore us when it's policy driven. Not saying it's right. You got to understand the numbers and how they affect all things. Also, where does the black dollar go? In fact, a recent study found that in 2021, the black dollar was responsible for over $1 trillion in spending of consumer goods and services. I'll say that one more time. In 2021, the black dollar was responsible for over $1 trillion in spending on consumer goods and services. Furthermore, black Americans were responsible for 20% of the luxury purchases in 2021, even though we only represent 13% of the American population. We go above and beyond our part when it's time to buy some Gucci, some Fendi, some Balenciaga, right? Anything that's popping, a Telfar bag, Cats gotta have the latest Christian Louis Vuittons. We got watches we can't afford. Black people love riding a Mercedes, BMW. All the love to have a Tesla. We got all this nice stuff. We look really good when we go to brunch. But when we leave brunch, we're driving back to our apartment because we can't afford to buy homes. We look really good at the beginning of the school year when we send our kids to school, but we don't have enough sense to tell our kids when you go to school, pay attention to science and math so you can get a degree in something that's going to give you a median income of $100,000 plus. We look really good when we go to church, but are we really tithing at a rate that makes any real difference in our community? You see what I'm saying? These are the come to Jesus moments we need to have about our spending. I get it. Redlining is real. Prejudice and bias in the workplace is real. Them not paying us according to our abilities are real. But you know what's also real? Our priorities are jaded in the black community often. And the numbers don't lie. So I hope everyone watching got something from this. I hope that this spoke to you. I hope that you will share this video. Remember, we're trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers. If you really like what I had to say today, you can drop me some money if you want to. You know, I'm passing the offering right now. But if you like the stuff that me and Katrina talked about today, I know she had to leave early. She had to check that food downstairs. And let me tell y'all, I had her broccolini. Amazing. So I already know the mussels and the fish on point. About to eat me some of that as soon as I'm done talking to y'all. I'm about to wrap up. You get what I'm saying? But we have to be smarter about how we spend our money, about how we invest our money, understanding what really matters, okay? Because we can't afford to keep living like this, guys. I get it. You know, everybody wants to go get a reservation at Nobu, and you want to go to, you know, this restaurant, and you want to go to Salt Bay's joint, and you want to take a trip to Dubai because everybody's doing it, and you want to take a trip to Mexico with your girls because everybody's doing it. But maybe you really can't afford it. And based off the median numbers, most of you can't. And honestly, only those of you with a household income of $150,000 can really afford the lifestyles that you see pushed and propaganded across IG and Facebook and TikTok and all those things. Most of y'all can't afford it. And that's not me crapping on you. That's just me saying maybe we need to figure out how to go get some real money. And then we need to better manage the money we got. Because we're not doing a good job. We're not. And I don't want to hear somebody talk about their anecdotal experience with me and my friends, me and my fraternity brothers, me and my sorority sisters. No. In general, black folks ain't doing so well. And we already told you where to go live, what jobs to go into so we can change the numbers because they don't need to stay this way. They're estimating by 2050 the average net wealth of a black person will be less than $0, meaning most of us are just going to be indebted to the system. We talk about the system controlling us all the time, but we're not providing ourselves enough money to try to break free. And some of it is our own bad decision making because we're taking up endeavors in professions that don't even give you money. Because we don't want to do the boring, corny stuff. Not everybody could be front and center. Some of you are going to have to take a back seat, work behind the scenes, and go get that dough. Go get that money. And when you got that money, spend it the right way. Okay? That's my soapbox. I'm going to get off of it. I could keep on going for days and days. Those who know me know. I ain't just pretending to be this person. I'm really about this life. And I've gone through some crazy financial situations in my life. Most of it my own doing. Because I had them kids. I got married. You know, whatever. But you have to fight your way out of that. And it's hard. So if I could speak to anybody and say, hey, let me throw you some game before you go down that path and you make it even harder for yourself, let's be smart about it. Y'all stop talking about, you know, playing basketball and stuff. That was on none of them lists, okay? Let's stop talking about how much money Chris Paul made. Oh, I'm sorry, Rich Paul made for all these basketball players. That's great. That's less than 10 athletes that he made that $2 million for. All right? That's less than 10 athletes. Like, there's way more than 10 black people in America. And once again, we're talking median numbers. So those high numbers don't even apply to most of y'all. Most of y'all ain't even good at basketball. Most of y'all suck at 2K, let alone get on the basketball court for real. So I don't want to hear about you being basketball players and football players because y'all suck at playing the game, let alone going out there in real life and doing it. So I don't want to hear that. But it's real easy. I shouldn't say easy, but it's not as hard to go be a software or a computer engineer and go out here and make almost a guaranteed $100,000 a year. And you can do that in your drawers working from home. I'm trying to put y'all on some game. I'm not trying to criticize. I'm just saying I want our people to do better. And there's opportunities out there. We're just not taking advantage of them. So that's been the show. I'm going to do some quick shout outs and we're going to go ahead and roll out, y'all. Once again, shout out to Full Circle. Shout out to Greatest Suit Records being our sponsor. Doing big things. Thank you guys for sponsoring this Is It Us versus Them conversation. I hope it's been beneficial to people who've been tuning in. Please share it. Tell folks to watch it. We're throwing out a lot of good numbers in these conversations. I hope people benefit from it so that way you can take a realistic look at the issues and figure out how do we fix it, right? Also, got to do birthdays, right? Shout out to my man Norman Fields, 65 on the 6th, right? Happy birthday to you, sir. Happy birthday to our homie Chantal Russell. We won't say your age, baby girl, but she's eligible, fellas. You know what I'm saying? She can sing and everything. She's involved in the church. Chantal, I'm just going to put that out there. I hope he does, charts in my head, not my heart, right? Shout out to a woman who was very influential in my life, Lemon Poindexter, my favorite Zeta. I'm just going to say that. Yeah, I can say that. That's my favorite Zeta. Lemon Poindexter. She just celebrated her birthday. I ain't going to say your birthday, boo, but you still look good. You still look good. I saw y'all had a good time on that cruise. Yeah, you still look good, boo. Yeah. So, happy birthday to you. And then, but last, but definitely not least, I got to say happy birthday to my dad, El Papi, right? Herman Utar, 61 years old. I'm going to go ahead and say his age because that man looked good. Got a six-pack. Went out to the beach a few times over the summer when my mother was out there running on the beach. Be out there with my brothers, helping them get in shape. Running 3 miles in under 30 minutes, sometimes 28, 27 minutes sometimes, doing this thing. I challenge most of you men to do a push-up contest against my father. He might get you. Matter of fact, I challenge most of you guys to sit down there and just do some planks and see how long you can go. He might just get you. 61 years old and doing his thing. Bass player, owner of Greatest Suit Records, a retired veteran, raised 3, I'm going to say amazing sons because I'm part of the group, right? So yeah, raised 3 amazing sons. You see what I'm saying? Loving husband, brother. Man, that's a good man right there. So y'all shout out to my father. I know I went in a little bit, but I'm going to do the most for my people. You know what I'm saying? 61 years old, he looked good, man. His birthday was yesterday, October 7th. So y'all wish him a happy birthday. And then, of course, we know we like to celebrate love on the Nitty Gritty Show. So, gotta shout out my man Jerome and his wife Sandra Scott. 17 years married. 17 years. And they both still look 26 years old. They look good. Good. But they Christian, they got God in their life. I think that's having an effect, right? 17 years of marriage. They look like they know more than 27 apiece, right? And then shout out to my cousin and his wife, Robert and Christy White. 11 years. I think they said on his post he met her like 19 years ago. But they've been married 11 years, have 2 beautiful daughters. If y'all don't know Robert White, he's a councilman at large here in D.C. and his wife is also a lawyer. I think they went to law school together at American or something like that. Y'all could correct me if I'm wrong if you're watching this or when you do watch it. But so happy birthday not happy birthday, but happy anniversary to them. That's amazing. And once again, you guys, thank you for watching the show. Me and Katrina really appreciate it. I hope this money conversation was beneficial to you, right? Share it, like it. Tell your friends to subscribe. Share it with your buddies and your friends. Tell them to tune in because I think we're having some dope conversations. And I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Katrina's with us in spirit. I'm about to eat me a plate, y'all, because she did her thing. And she made some banana bread. All right? So I'm about to get to that. But once again, it's your boy, J. DaCosta. Katrina's downstairs. Together, we are the Nitty Gritty Show. Make sure you like, follow us. I see somebody sent us some money. I didn't look at it yet, but I heard the ching, ching, ching. So thank you for that little deposit because we appreciate it. It helps us pay for all the different things we need to keep this thing going, like the subscriptions and all that stuff. Software as a service is a real thing, and it helps build the Nitty Gritty Show, and then we pay for those subscriptions. But once again, you guys, thank you guys for watching. It's your boy, J. DaCosta. We got my girl Katniss here, who's with us in spirit. We the Nitty Gritty Show. We out. We getting out of here, y'all. Peace.